Hi, it's Paul from HobbyLink International. Today we're going to have a look at what's inside the box. The new kit from AJM models. This is the 1/700th HMS Empire MacAlpine. Empire MacAlpine was the first of the Mac ships. Mac stood for Merchant Aircraft Carriers. There's about a dozen of them in total. They weren't really conversions of ships because the ships hadn't been built. They were like the plans were converted and they were built with small landing decks on top. There's only used bulk carriers and oil tankers of about 8,000–9,000 tons. The ships were still operated as merchant ships. They flew the red ensign, not the Royal Navy ensign. Essentially, all the crew to run the ship were merchant sailors, and the Royal Navy supplied the people who looked after the air wing. All the Mac ships flew Swordfish. No other aircraft ever operated from the Mac ships. The grain ships, such as Empire MacAlpine, had 3 Swordfish. The oil tankers could carry 4. Empire MacAlpine, as I said, was the first, and she was the first to carry out both a deck landing and a landing at night. They had a small number of anti-aircraft guns added. Empire MacAlpine, as per the others, they're designed for use on as convoy escorts, and Empire MacAlpine made it through the war, and after the war was converted to a bulk carrier and operated as a grain carrier, and was in service until 1970 when she was sold and scrapped in Hong Kong. Okay, so let's start with seeing what's in the box. So this is HMS Empire MacAlpine, AJM models, 1/700th, waterline kit, obviously resin and photo etch, since that's what they do. And Empire MacAlpine was the very first Mac carrier. So, get bubble wrap, box parts, flight deck, instructions, some photo etch. So, instructions in their usual style. If you go to the website, there's a link underneath the video. There's scans of these instructions. You can have a close look at them. But the usual, I've got usual way of doing things, photos of everything on the front here. Painting guide called out in life colour. Ensigns. I think she'll be using the red ensign for this, since she that's what she wore, because she was theoretically still a merchant ship. And then the usual instructions that you go through, and you get numbers in a square box are photo etch, and numbers, when I find out numbers in a round box, are resin. And that's an easy way to work out what is what. So what do we got? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, basically 10 pages of instructions, 62 steps, and obviously building some fairy swordfish as well, since that's what she carried. She actually had half a dozen of them. I'm not sure how many you get here. So let's have a look at the main hull. If I can get it out of here. Okay, there's the main hull. That's pretty nice resin, no bubbles. No ball either side. That's about the size of it in my hand. Portholes, deck details, gun tubs. That's all there. Main deck. There's a panel lining in the deck itself. Don't know if you can see that in the light. Hopefully the photographs I'll take after will show that. Yeah, after this I'll take photographs of everything and put those on the website as well. Now, photo etch. As you can see, this is quite flexible. So there's, see the right side, yeah, that's the correct side. All the numbering's on there. Quite a lot of small parts there, details, so obviously working with photo etch before would be good. What have we got here? Each one for a swordfish, so it looks like you've got 4 swordfish to play with somewhere, which isn't bad. Decal sheet, decals for the deck, decals for the swordfish, and you got the Merchant and Royal Navy ensigns. Like I said before, you probably need to use the Merchant Navy one. And then a bag of resin parts, not as many as some of their other kits. Some of the other kits have got quite a few bagfuls of resin parts like this. So, looking at some of these, just all on a resin plug. There'll be close-up photographs of all these. These are all the aircraft, I think. All the swordfish, all those parts. Ship's boats, they look quite nice. There's a couple of the swordfish. Even got ribbing detail on the tail there. So those are pretty neat. So what I'll do is, oh, they've got paravanes as well. So what I'll do is I'll take, like I said, I'll take photographs of everything. Ship's guns in there. She had, was it 100mm dual purpose gun and 4 anti-aircraft guns. So quite some nicely detailed stuff in there. The photo etch obviously is going to make a huge difference to it. Really nice hull that you get to start with. Doors on the sides there. So next I'll take photographs of everything. Let's have a close-up look at some of the parts and some of the instructions. I'm not aware of anyone doing a resin or plastic kit of the Empire MacAlpine or any other Mac ship for that matter. All I can find is one Mac ship on Shapeways, but obviously that comes with no photo etch or decals. In the box, everything is wrapped in bubble wrap and the smaller resin parts are bagged separately. Doing the parts count, there's a large P fret with 360 parts, roughly, 84 photo etch parts on 4 smaller frets for the aircraft, and then another 14 photo etch parts on a smaller fret. There's 2 large resin parts, the deck and the hull, and then about another 175 resin parts for the ship, another 44 resin parts for the aircraft, a decal sheet, and then 5 pages of double-sided instructions. I'll just go through some of the pages of instructions so you can see what they look like. First page, steps 1 to 5, is putting the first parts on the main hull, basically adding details that are going to go underneath the flight deck when it goes on. As you can see, some of the part numbers are in rounded boxes, some are in square boxes. Rounded boxes are resin, square boxes are photo etch. And there's quite a few small parts going under here. But overall it's pretty straightforward, just adding the parts in. Now jump ahead to page 4 with steps 34 to 41, and basically the earlier pages we started at the front working our way backwards, again underneath the flight deck. Here we're adding ship's boats, which are nicely detailed, also adding platforms for the few guns that she carried, and adding railings at the back end as well. Again, it's quite a nicely detailed ship. There's lots of fine details going in. Now we jump ahead again to page 6. You can see at the top we're finishing off the island. It was mostly assembled in a previous step, but now we're just adding the final details of photo etch and also some brass rod for the mast. Going down, we're adding details to the flight deck, which has not yet been added to the hull. Again, earlier steps added some detail to start with, and we're just continuing with that with railings at the side of the flight deck, and the island goes on at this stage as well, and generally just adding more things on. There's also the option for ladders at the side of the ship going down to the waterline as well. Page 8, you can add the ladders I just mentioned that go down to the waterline, so you can make a nice diorama with boats at the side of the ship. You also have an option of adding, I think these are windbreaks that go around the elevator at the back of the flight deck, so you can have those in place or not, your choice. And on the last page we're adding the fairy swordfish. You get the options of putting a torpedo underneath, or rockets under the wings, or both. And there's a lot of resin parts and photo etch parts that go into making each of these aircraft. So they're quite detailed in themselves and will probably take a little bit of time. And then you also add on the very last details on the ship, usually a few railings and a few of the sorted small pieces. And then you've got the ship complete. And now paints and decals. So the paints for the ship are called out in life colour. Paints for the aircraft are called out using Hataka. But both, all the paints are named, so you can easily convert it into whichever paint brand you wish to use. Painting's reasonably straightforward. There's no camouflage pattern or anything. Mostly just a mid-grey hull and a black-grey flight deck, and you're pretty much there. Decals, you get decals for the flight deck. You also get Royal Navy ensign and Merchant Navy ensigns, and you should really be using the Merchant Navy red ensign since that's the flag that they flew. But yeah, pretty straightforward as far as painting and decals go. So an overall conclusion. It's the only Mac ship you're going to be able to build with a good set of detail to it. So that's a plus. Also, if you're new to resin ships, it's a reasonably straightforward build. You know, the flight deck sort of makes things a bit simpler, with a small island on it. So it'd be a good build to sort of start off with resin ships. And it's the only kit of a Mac ship that's out there and available, so it should do well, and hopefully it will sell well for AJM.